Hi friends! Just gonna do a little biofeedback therapy this morning. Hope you enjoy. Try to fast forward through the annoying parts. Got my computer, got all my gear here. I finally found the sensor that goes with actually goes with the blood pressure cuffs, but it works with the respiration belt as well, so that's good. Anyone remember where the different colors go? Hopefully you're reminding yourself right now. But if you said red on the left, you are correct. And if you said green on the right, you are correct. And then we get that extra black one down there at our wrist. Pretty much right where my watch was. In my armpit. Let's see if we've got all of our, I don't know how much you can really see the computer, but this top graph is going to be my breath rate. So it says cuff pressure, and basically what it's going to do is, as I take a deep breath, obviously the pressure against the belt is going to increase. So you'll see like a rise when I take an inhale, and then the pressure on the belt will decrease as I exhale, and so you'll see the graph dip down. So that's the top graph. Middle graph is that EKG. That's the one that should look kind of like a heart rate. And if you recall from our lesson, maybe you can answer this before I say it out loud, but the EKG or your heart rate should be a ratio with your breath rate. So for every breath I take up here on the graph, you should see how many heartbeats. If I'm at rest, or in general, the ratio is the same for at rest or activity if you're in the healthy range. Hopefully you're answering. That should be a 1-to-4 ratio. So for every one breath I take, I should have 4 beats down here. We'll see how that goes. Down here at the bottom will be temperature. Screen here. So I'm changing it to just take readings for 60 seconds today because that's what you're going to graph. You're going to graph a full minute of me at rest, a full minute of me after activity, and then a full minute of me. I'm going to come back to rest for a second, then I'm going to do my activity again, but then I'm going to follow it with BFT right away. So on your graph that you're going to end up making, you're going to see one set of data for at rest for all three, for your breath rate, your temperature, and your heart rate. And then you're going to see a graph that's activity only, which in my case I'm going to end up doing just jumping jacks in the classroom today because that's the easiest way for me to get hooked back up. I might try to put on a scary video at the same time because you know how Miss Masonette is terrified of scary things. And then you'll have that last graph that's the same exact activity, whatever it is that I choose to do, but you will then, I will do BFT right afterwards. I'm going to do that deep belly breathing. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to try to do some meditating in my head, and then we should see a difference in the graph of the activity with the BFT versus without. So that's our experiment. Your job will then be to take my data and graph it and then analyze it. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to just do 60 seconds. I'm going to do 50 samples per second, which is kind of extreme. I probably don't need that many, but I just want you to be able to see the data on the screen nice and clear. It will make interpreting the data points a little bit cumbersome, or not cumbersome, tedious, I guess, but I'll show you how to do that, and it won't take you too long. Okay, there we go. We're all set up there. Everything looks good. I'm ready to hit collect, but I'm not going to do it till I'm all hooked up here. I'm going to go ahead and press collect, and just a second, and we'll see what we get. Hopefully, shouldn't be too hard to collect that data. Again, it's not going to give me a clear heart rate average like you were seeing in class with the hand grip monitors, because I'm not using them, I'm using EKG, but the EKG should be a better representation for you, because you'll be able to count the peaks instead in my minute, okay? Okie dokie. Okay, that's better. You can totally see that now. Maybe not on this screen, but I'm going to give you screenshots of all this, and that way you're going to be able to read it, no problem. So I'll explain this again in the instructions, but basically what you're doing is you're going to take these graphs that I'm giving you, and you're going to read all the different peaks and look at the different temperatures. So if I scroll over here, we see the different temperatures that come up. So like if I just looked at it every second, which is, remember I took 50 data points per second. So I'm looking at line 1, line 50, line 100, line 150, line 200, line 250, line 300, line 350. So I'm going to give you this chart as well. It's got a ton of data in it, and you're going to be like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do with all these numbers? Don't graph them all. You only have to graph the ones in the 50s. 1, 152, 152, 253, 354, like that. For the heart rate and for the breath rate, you're just going to count peaks. So, for example, I don't really want to give the answer away, but let's say that there were 60 here, and then we see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 up here. Does that fall into the normal range of at rest? I'm guessing there's not 60 if there's only 11 full rounds of breath. But we'll see, won't we? Okay, I don't know how much of this you can see, but I just opened up an Excel spreadsheet, or a Google Sheet, I should say, and dropped in the data from that first at rest reading, which I'll do for the rest of them as well. But basically, the first column is time. Again, remember I did 50 samples per second, so you're only looking for the full second. So you'll look for 0, you'll look for 1, you'll look for 2, 3, 4, etc. The pressure, the second column, the pressure, not really of interest to you, again, because it's easier to count the peaks on the graph. EKG, again, not really of interest to you because these numbers are so minuscule that reading the numbers is going to be really hard. However, you're going to need to pull those numbers to make your graph. So that part will be a little tricky, I'll explain. And then the temperature, you'll have to pull those numbers straight for your graph. So I'll explain that in a minute. And now we've started a new one, everything's blank. I'm just making sure that before I start, everything's set up the way it was, which for whatever reason it goes back to a default. So setting it for 60 again, 60 seconds, and setting it for 50 samples per second again. Again, that's probably overkill, but better to have lots of data than none at all. Okay, so we're all set. I'm just getting my cursor right over the green arrow so that it can catch it as soon as I sit down and hook up again. Like I said, I can't unhook myself from the breath rate because that'll make things crazy. Okay, temperature's ready. I got all my probes. I'm ready to go. Okay, wish me luck. I'm gonna do some jumping jacks. Oop. Okie dokie, we finished. Awesome, so I'm unhooking myself again. So yeah, not the best readings for temperature. Again, we're gonna take them, we're gonna put them on our graph anyway. We'll analyze them because that's science, but I don't know how great the temperature readings are gonna be as a comparison. We'll see. Okay, so once again, I'm just gonna go ahead and take and copy all of this data over to our little chart. Just setting up the last one. Same as before, 60 seconds, 50 samples per second. Got everything plugged in, ready to go. Cursor on the collect when we're ready. Gotta do my 50 jumping jacks again. This should be fun. We'll see how it goes. Okay, I had my eyes closed, so I have no idea how long past I went, but looks pretty good. Let's see. Again, we're just gonna change this up so that we can see it a little more clearly. There we go. So a little jagged for us to count this time, but still you're just gonna count those peaks. First one looks a little wonky, but to me, I would probably count that as 2. All right, things look good. Looks like we got a better temperature. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Temperature is a little whack, but again, we're gonna graph it anyway.